Colonel Douglas Macgregor said this: "President Trump made a comment within the last couple of days, and I thought was outrageous. He talked about Americans being part of some sort of force potentially on the ground in Ukraine as a result of any security arrangement. Well, that's an impossibility. Russians just fought a war to make sure nothing like that happens. I'm not sure President Trump is clear in his mind. But I do know that Mr. Putin is absolutely clear about what he wants, and that's what's going to happen." Colonel Douglas Macgregor's statement reflects a critical perspective on President Trump's comments regarding US involvement in Ukraine. To unpack this, we need to consider several key points. Context of the statement: the US has been involved in supporting Ukraine, especially since the Russian annexation of Crimea in 2014 and the ongoing conflict in eastern Ukraine. However, direct military involvement, such as deploying ground troops, has been a contentious issue. Without the exact quote from Trump, it's difficult to assess the specific context of his remarks. However, if he suggested that American forces could be deployed on the ground in Ukraine, it would indeed be a significant shift in US policy, which has generally favoured providing military aid and support without direct troop involvement. Macgregor's use of strong language indicates his belief that the idea of US troops in Ukraine is not only impractical, but also dangerous. He suggests that such a move contradicts the lessons learned from previous conflicts, particularly the desire to avoid direct military entanglement in foreign wars. Plus, the American public has shown reluctance for new ground wars, especially after prolonged conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan. Macgregor asserts that Vladimir Putin has a clear understanding of his objectives in Ukraine. This reflects a belief that Putin is pursuing specific strategic goals, such as maintaining influence over former Soviet states and countering NATO expansion. Macgregor implies that any US military presence would be seen as a direct challenge to those goals, potentially escalating tensions. In summary, Macgregor's statement encapsulates a viewpoint that emphasizes caution regarding US military involvement in Ukraine. He argues that such involvement would be counterproductive and contrary to the lessons learned from past conflicts. The assertion that Putin is clear about his intentions suggests that any US action could provoke a strong response, further complicating an already tense geopolitical situation.